Hello, dear listeners, dear audience. Our theme is health as an instrument for peace. And I'm Michaela Glöckler, the current president from the ELIANT Alliance. And my interview partner is Stefan Schmidt-Troschke. He will introduce himself a little bit because we wanted to know from him, what do you think about the relationship between health and peace? You know, peace seems to be really social health, social well-being, that everyone, has the chance to feel more or less good without enemies, so to say, and polarization. And what role plays health in this drama of today? We live in really not peaceful times. Stefan, what do you think?
Well, that's true. And it's very interesting that especially in medicine itself, we are fighting too much with each other. And there's so many different perspectives in different methods in medicine. I think it's good to fight, but on the other hand, well, for instance, homeopathy, anthroposophical medicine, and it's really a strong fight going on in medicine still now, and even now, probably even stronger. So I think peace is, well, not, just to feel emotionally peaceful, but as a philosophy, I think is a very interesting point to for health. And I would totally agree because the inner peace is something that actually has got to do very much with a healthy and sensible living, and this, I think, very much is about inner peace. Yes.
For me, this question, you spoke about different modalities in medicine. And for me, the question is, as long medicine is only one-sided and not accepting the variety of medical interventions and views on the human being, the system of medicine itself cannot be peaceful. Because for me, I'm a pediatrician, you as well. So we share the same profession, and we know particularly in childhood how powerful integrative medicine is and how self-healing capacities in children are particularly high. And for me, it was a big experience during my medical work that all diseases, all disorders have to do with processes of disintegration, isolation. And health for me was always a process of integration. And I would like you to share a little bit with our audience what is, from your perspective, the integrative medical model. You are very much working for it.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. I think, well, to start with one of the remarks you earlier made, I think it is it's worthwhile to think about health as a quality that is very individual. That is not. It's very difficult to generalize because health is something that actually we have to bring by ourselves. We need certain conditions, of course, for health, but it's a very, very personal and individual aspect of our lives. And so, well, as many interesting philosophers, including Steiner, told that there are so many healths outside as there are people outside. So health in itself is something very individual, and it's very interesting that now in modern medicine there are many approaches now to really to really focus the individuum in a but in a very bodily way, in the physical way. The physical body is individualized in a way, as we see in molecular medicine, in oncology. Well, the aspect of this physical body is very important to really fit a treatment very personally, and it's called personal medicine. Interestingly, on the one side, what we don't really do yet is to personalize on the emotional level, on the spiritual level. We don't really integrate this into the way we treat in medicine. I think that's one of the reasons we have so differing there's so distant opinions towards health and medicine, because we don't really acknowledge that health is something individual. On the other hand, there is a kind of a contradiction. We have this public health issue. We have this idea of we need certain conditions for people to grow, for people to be, well, they need a certain good nutrition. They need certain circumstances which they probably can't simply care for by themselves. Well, we know this from children. They have to be cared for by their parents. So we are responsible for other people to care, to create a surrounding that actually creates health or makes them able to create their own health. And this is a very interesting aspect, which the older I became as a pediatrician, also more and more understood or learned to understand. Creating a surrounding is probably much more important than to intervene. Sometimes you need to intervene, but this creation of health as a surrounding, as a social, as a physical and a spiritual surrounding is very important. And this actually is something which integrates different aspects of life. You need to integrate that, otherwise you can't really, or you actually already do this, or probably not even thinking about it. I think just normal good parents do this. They integrate these different levels. And so health is in itself something about integration of these different levels. And it makes sense to not only, just subconsciously integrate, but to do it consciously. And this is, I think, what probably our talk is about, to more consciously reflect on how to integrate these different levels in order to create spaces for people to grow their own health. And so this is about integration of different levels of the human being, of the different aspects of the human being. But by integrating these different aspects of the human being, we are always connected, of course, to the whole world, to other people, to the plants, to the stones, and to the animals. Of course, we are in connection. So this also is about integration. And so we are not simply individuals, but being individuals, real individuals, means to be connected to the world on the other side as well. And so also to reflect this in a conscious way, I think is a good and a very important challenge. And of course, by expressing your own health or creating your own health, it's very interesting that people give different answers to what creates their own health. And seemingly, for many people, it's very important. The younger people they think their body is very important to be, well, they feel their body very strongly. And the older people are, interestingly, people seemingly more think about the sense of their life, about why are they living, what are they living for, what is the deeper sense of what they are doing. And this actually seems to deeply create a feeling of coherence, as Antonovsky puts it, of coherence with the world. And so but this has got different sources, and we have to individually integrate that, which means that we have to also, I think, create a medicine or perform a medicine that is actually creates a resonance space for these aspects. And if medicine is just it's not just one road, it's not an autobahn, it needs these different approaches, and it needs to listen to what a person really well is a need for his own health or her own health. And so I think it's the medicine of the integrative medicine of the future is about listening, is about sensing, is about a deep sense of to sensing of what the patient in front of me really needs and wants and needs for his personal health. So this is something very basic about integration.
Thank you, Stefan. That is a broad picture.
Sorry. Yeah.
Was it this vision which made you decide for your own life and your own business perspectives that you reduced your pediatric work and became the leader of this German patient organization, GESUNDHEIT AKTIV, and now the broader network, weil hilft, because it helps? Maybe you could share what made you put your own energy more than half into this more social, interactive work, and to leave your pediatric practice. I think you have reduced it now for 1 day in the week. So what are you doing all the other days of the week? Is this to serve this broader picture, or can you explain a bit? I think it belongs to our theme.
Yes. Well, that's a more biographical question. Well, as a doctor in Herdecke Hospital, which is an anthroposophical hospital, but it's a community hospital and university hospital in the middle of Germany. I worked as a pediatrician, but I always was somehow also dealt with the circumstances in the hospital itself. I always realized, well, the way we are treating patients, we are letting them wait, or they are freezing probably. We are not, well, the ways they are led through the hospital, the processes in the hospital, they very much contribute to the results of what we finally reach. And so I was, being a doctor, I always had this impression that we have to care for the way we do medicine, also in a more organizative perspective. And I was interested in, well, this was the more narrow surrounding, but I also thought, well, what's happening at home? What's happening at school with the children? What's my role as a doctor? And I realized, well, I had these hyperactive children in my clinic, and realized, well, they are medicalized for social reasons, well, many of them. And I thought I have to change something about, well, we have to contribute or speak to the teachers and to the parents much more than just treating the child, because I had the feeling that the surroundings matters much more. And so that actually brought me into the medicine, well, into the management of the hospital, which I was head of the hospital for 10 years then, and the medical head, but also, the general head of the hospital. So I was also responsible for the economic part. which was very interesting for me as a doctor, because it's a different aspect, which is very necessary. It's not, we're not, and I realize it's very much connected. We doctors sometimes say, well, we don't want to have to do anything with money, but we like to have money. And so I think this needs to be addressed in a different way. So I experienced it's necessary to really take responsibility for also that. So, well, and after 10 years, I had the impression we have to change much more also in the system. But I wasn't able to, even as a hospital manager, to really make a difference. I had the feeling 98% of what I was doing was just, you know, following rules, and I was walking behind something. I wasn't able to really make a difference deeply. And so, well, finally it brought me to this movement, GESUNDHEIT AKTIV, well, a movement of 8,000 people, citizens, not patients. Well, I would really like to also distinguish this. Of course, some of them are also patients. Sometimes I'm also personally patient, but I would say, well, at first they are citizens. And I discovered, it's very interesting, wow, that's a different perspective in the health system to work with citizens. Normally, only the doctors and the insurances and the politicians, they are working with the patients, and they are telling what's good for the patients, and they make big corporations, whatever. But I realized that the citizen in the health system itself is simply missing. He's not really there. And I realized that the health system, especially in this country, probably is not able to make a big difference any further into future, which was deeply necessary, because we have a big problem, not only in this country, but now let's talk about, well, talking about Germany, we can say we have too much medicine where it's not needed, and we have too little medicine where it's deeply needed. And we don't really care for the living for the living circumstances out of the perspective of medicine. We are not really involved in that. We are very specialized, and all this is not connected. And so, well, GESUNDHEIT AKTIV was a wonderful place to reflect on that. And what the first thing that we did was we asked all the members, what do you think? What is necessary? What do you think is important? And please write your story, your health story. And I realized as a doctor, it's very interesting that they write something totally different than I would ask them as a doctor. And the perspective of a citizen on his or her health is totally, well, really differed from the way I was interviewing patients, taking a history. So I got well, being nearly 50 years old as a doctor, having practiced for 20 years, and I thought, wow, that's really mind-changing for me to understand that from the perspective of citizens, health is still something totally different than from my perspective as a doctor, even as an anthroposophical doctor, being, well, thinking, well, I'm much more on the holistic side of medicine, and I wasn't too much holistic at that time. And so I learned something new, and that actually woke me up, and we built up speaking to people, we built up a bigger movement around integrative medicine and health in this country, and founded a movement which is called because it weil hilft, or because it works, probably in English, because we wanted to actually to find out what really works for people in this system, and why can't they actually articulate what works and what they want in the system, because there's hardly any, except, well, electing or going to elections every 4 years, there's hardly any way to express themselves in this sense. And So that was a very interesting experience, and well, and now as we have a hard time in Germany at the moment in politics, it was very helpful to have this movement and to also ask the people to do something about that.
Yeah, and you were very successful. Maybe you can also share that due to this movement's intervention, the health minister in Germany stopped to erase homeopathy and anthroposophic medicine from the reimbursement of the assurance companies. And me, as a engaged member of our European alliance, ELIANT, we were very proud that we were able to support you by making it known so that you get a better quorum in your signature activity. And maybe you can share a little bit on what was based this success. Why did you reach so rapidly so many people to support your initiative against the German health minister's suggestion just to stop the reimbursement of homeopathy?
Well, what did we do? Yes, you are right. I mean, probably let me shortly repeat what was going on here in this country. The minister, he is he's not a fan of homeopathy since long times already. He articulated this ever and ever again. And in January this year, he said he will bring up a law where he wants to stop the reimbursement of homeopathy and anthroposophical medicine within the German health system. And this actually, as these methods are quite known, especially homeopathy, it's grown up in Germany. It's a very traditional medicine. I think this shook up people in a way. But what we did was we had already, of course, what we had, as I told before, we already had this movement. We had a big network, and we had a big Kneipp movement behind us, which is 150 years old already. And we had the homeopathy movement, and we had the anthroposophical movement. Here also in Germany, we had all the Waldorf schools. We had ELIANT, of course, internationally. We had some Swiss friends who also assisted and helped us. So there was a big, but we ourselves, we had just 4 weeks to do this petition. And within 4 weeks, we were able to collect 200,000 signatures, which actually in the beginning, we didn't think we could manage that, but it was like a fire. And we can actually say, if you ask people in this country, that more than 50% actually are in favor of these methods, and they don't understand why they simply say, what's the English word for Willkür? It's you know, just it's more a mood out of which the minister simply says, well, these and these methods, I don't like them, and simply take them out.
But Stefan, I think that's very important. From my perspective, it was not only his unwillingness and his anti-mood, because he is a mainstream doctor and is not a friend of complementary methods and other views, but he also said something which is not true. And maybe you can inform our audience about what is really the fact, because he said via the media, there is no evidence that homeopathy and anthroposophic medicine works. It is just placebo. And that is a complete lie. Maybe you can inform our audience where they can find valid resources for the efficiency and really study-based good outcome of anthroposophic medicine and homeopathy. For me, that was the most touching, that he simply is not informed and shares publicly things who are not true.
Yeah. Well, we can actually say, for for homeopathy and also for anthroposophical medicine, then you are totally right. This is not true. We have since well, last year we had a publication on homeopathy, collecting the main 5 reviews, which themselves, of course, are big, collecting all the studies. And this study actually collected now all the reviews on the studies, and on a very abstract level. But and they actually had a very clear result. What one can simply say, homeopathy works. And of course, you have to clearly look at the results in detail. But in general, you can say homeopathy clinically works, and it works much better than placebo in many indications, for many illnesses, and in many situations. You can really prove that scientifically. And the interesting thing is, it's you can even prove it sometimes even better than for many conventional medicines, especially for homeopathy. This was a very interesting discovery. Well, it was known before, but this study actually, well, seemingly wasn't read, or well, probably wasn't so interesting to read it. And
where can one find it? Can you share on what website our audience could look up this review?
Yes. Yes, well, I don't have the link now, but I, of course, later on I can do, or we can share it on ELIANT server or whatever, on the ELIANT website. Of course, we can do that.
Is it on the GAMIT website from the German?
Yeah, I can bring some links, and later on people can look it up at the ELIANT homepage, probably. Is that okay? That we
Yeah, we can do that. If it's not yet online, we will post it immediately.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I would have to, of course, I'm not too sure about the English versions, especially.
I see.
The study, of course, is in English, but it's very complicated to read it. But I think there's a summary also in German. Well, in English, of course, there's a summary which is readable. I have to look for that, and I will take care of that. Yes, of course. And for anthroposophical medicine, well, I mean, you yourself know this probably better than me. There's good evidence actually on anthroposophical medicine. Of course, not on every medicine itself, which is also not, I mean, in the core idea of anthroposophical medicine, to have thousands of medicines, and from every medicine to have a proof that it works. But well, these medicines, they work in a context. They work in a system, but if you evaluate anthroposophical medicine as a system, you can really say there's a lots of studies out there showing that it works. And now we have a new review, very interesting review, especially for oncology, for the cancer patients here in Berlin. We had Friedemann Schad did a review, very interesting review on, and he compared the time people are living after initiating a certain therapy, and if anthroposophical therapy additionally was given or administered, people simply had a better quality of life and a longer life even. And this was a national registry by which he compared it. This is data which has to be, of course, controlled, and many things have to be proven again in certain other studies. But it's very, very interesting and results. And so it's simply not true, as you said, that Lauterbach said there's not enough evidence out there. Because if we would compare it to the conventional medicine, we can actually say that 10–12% actually have an evidence level that actually complies with the international rules of highest evidence. So we can, it's unfair. It's simply not. it's not right. And I think for homeopathy and anthroposophical medicine, of course, the doctors don't say, well, this works and we don't need any studies. Of course, we need studies. It's nothing against science and good science, of course. And we have to, of course, also well, this has to be evaluated. Nobody is against that, but we have to also fairly look at what is the evidence, and the evidence is there. Of course, there has to be much more research to be done, but the evidence at the first sight is there, and our idea, I think, or our interpretation is that these systems simply don't fit into the mindset of certain people. Who have a different Weltanschauung behind medicine, a more technocratic Weltanschauung, which actually means these systems who can't really be explained with physical means. They they can't work because we don't know the mechanism, and the mechanism isn't explainable, so they can't work. So I think that's the way it's put in the and that even when there is evidence, clinical evidence, people say, well, the mechanism isn't plausible, so it can't work. And this, of course, is not fair also because in conventional medicine, we have many therapies where we can't really explain why they work, but they work. And as a doctor, I must always say I want to treat patients with medicines that work. And this is the first aspect or the main aspect I have to look at when practicing medicine. And so I think it's an ideological thing that actually that we are up to at the moment. And it's a very hard ideological fight. And well, in this sense, I think it's very necessary to talk about a different way of finding freedom in this in this well, disagreement on how to reach that is a very difficult but very interesting and necessary question. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. It's interesting. Now you round up with a picture of an ideological fight. And we started our dialogue, what is the relationship between health and peace? So we see as long we are fighting on the spiritual level, we have no war in the real world. So I think it's a very good thing to fight on a spiritual level and really to find out a multi-perspective view on medicine, and then allow what you said, this listening to one another and this being in resonance with even aspects of health which are very individual and not to be generalized. And if we do this, then there is no need for battles on the physical level. So maybe we ask now our audience if they have questions for you, and then we will see where it leads us before we round up 11:45. Yeah, maybe we wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe you can look on the website of the medical section and of DAMIT if we maybe could share this with our audience right away so that they have not to wait, because I'm not sure if we have put also these links already on because they're quite new, on our ELIANT website, but it's a very good idea to do this quickest possible, but it would be nice to have that. And Stefan, I really liked the way you shared this phenomena of environment and individual, because for me, that is what characterizes life. You know, when you have a machine is not in need of an environment. It is just for itself, a coffee machine, yeah, just waiting until you press the button. But a living organism is only real and can sustain if there is an appropriate environment. And we know in our ecological catastrophe of today how many plants and animals are dying out, and the birds and the insects and so on, because the environment cannot carry them anymore. And maybe you can deepen this a bit more and also share the new health program coming from Holland, because there is a total new concept of health on the way, which brings a tool how to check my environment in interaction with my own becoming and actual situation, so that I can influence my environment more healthily, and the environment can support me in my life better. Because I know you are very engaged in that, and I think this would be a beautiful roundup of our conversation, if you could share.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for the question. It's well, it's of course a big question. The first part, well, I think that well, in general, since the modern philosophy actually from the 20th century more and more came in, we have a problem with our connectedness to the world as people, because what we learn to bring the world opposite to ourselves in order to understand it, which is very good and necessary. On the other hand, we seemingly lost some connection to somehow a colleague of mine, he called it interbeing, well, being with the world and not being opposite to the world. And I think this is one of the great challenges we in general have. We have Otto Schama calls it 3 divides. We have a disconnection between the spiritual world, the cosmic aspects in ourselves. We have a disconnection between people amongst people, and you see this in the social networks, which of course are working in a way, but people are still staying for themselves more and more, although they have so much contact. It's very interesting. Depression's going on and is rising all over worldwide, especially in the Western world. People are more and more isolated in a way, although we have more possibilities to come in contact. It's a very paradox situation. And then we have a disconnection between ourselves and the physical world in a way. Sometimes we don't understand, we don't even see the plants around and the animals, and we only see percentages and we see things that are reported about the world, but we are not really in touch with it. And I think this actually is part of the problem we were talking about before, that everything that the human being somehow outside is like a machine, is something to be manipulated outside of ourselves, but it's not part of ourselves, it's not part of our world. And well, and in this sense, of course, if you think health as something as well, as an aspect of being connected to the different aspects of life, this actually gives a different possibility of looking at well-being. And well, you were pointing out positive health philosophy from the Netherlands, which I'm also engaged in to bring it out here in Germany, which was founded by Margrethe Huber. She is a general doctor in the Netherlands, and she discovered that for normal people, there are actually 6 main columns of health, main aspects of health, which constitute their health. And so she built the bodily aspects of health is of course a very important one, but it's one of the other 5, which is quality of life, daily activities, the sense of my life, the connectedness to other people. And these constitute a kind of a model which you can use as a communication tool, also as a doctor, as a teacher, to come in touch with people. And it works very well. In the Netherlands, there was a small revolution about health when they introduced this model. And so we try to also do this in Germany. We can also send out the link to Positive Health, positive Gesundheit in Germany, or Positive Health. If you Google this, you will find you come to the website of Huber of the Institute of Positive Health, and you can even do a small assessment of your health by using this tool. But it's not meant mechanically to find some numbers, but to get a kind of a first impression. And it's very interesting because it gives you the possibility to become more aware of what is really matters to your personal health. And this seems to be kind of a key to future, probably also healthcare and a healthcare system, because you can even use it within the system itself. And you don't only ask people about their illnesses and about their problems, you simply ask them about their health, and you will find totally get a different picture of what really matters to a patient or to a citizen. And by this, you can also form communities, and people can talk to each other about their priorities, and they can even form little initiatives around health. And we experienced a few of them even in this country, and in the Netherlands, it's a big movement, and they even managed to form a bigger region with this philosophy of positive health. So it's a very interesting model to somehow more practically understand what it means to come in touch with different aspects of being and of life, and to integrate, if you want so, and to create a more peaceful way, which is more to create a kind of an equilibrium, which is dynamic. This is also a very important point, that health is not so much something you can see static. It's always in moving. It's always moving. It's always about creating new equilibriums, and this is what positive health is about. It's called it's the ability to adapt and to self-manage, and this is health. I mean, to adapt and to stay in touch with the world around you and the social world, and of course with the sense you give your own life.
Thank you, Stefan. I think that's a wonderful closing. On the one hand, to encourage the audience to look towards positive health, and maybe this is then a tool for more peace in the world, because there is more resonance and interactivity and understanding. Thank you very much. We have to round up. And thank you, dear listeners, for your interest. Goodbye. All the best.
Bye-bye.